Welcome back to another Jazz basketball breakdown. This was a rough game. Three rough games in a row, but three first halves, especially where we've struggled coming out the gate. And oh man, it's when our bench unit is not shooting lights out, they are getting dominated.
It's a very defensively soft group that comes in, and at least in the two games prior to this, we put up a fight. Right?
Yeah,
We kind of showed that we belonged on the court, and with some tough teams. New Orleans has been playing about 500 ball the last 8, 9, 10 games ish. Playing some decent teams out there. But this one felt like steps backwards.
yeah, very, very. Obviously, Markkinen really struggled tonight with his shot. Teams are starting to really come after him physically. I'd like to see him respond to that physicality, which this game, I don't know, he did to start, right?
Very well.
He starts and just physically, just bang, 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 three times goes into him, makes the first two buckets. Third one gets a good move, fade away, ends up short, hitting the front of the rim, which is fine.
Like the shot.
And, yeah, it's a shot we're happy with. He proceeds to not touch the ball for the next 8 minutes game time. First three possessions go through him, doesn't ever see the ball again.
That's an interesting thing as we've gone through the season and kind of the last 2 years, right? We talk about, how Lauri Markkanen's a good neighbor.
Yeah.
I would like him to bark at teammates, and I'd like the coach also to jump in there and be a little bit more intentional about where the ball goes through
Right.
when he's on the court. He's one of the top off-ball players in the entire league.
Yeah.
His numbers show that. I mean, it's very obvious, and yeah, you can kind of allow your players to exhibit their superpowers and be their wonderful selves to a point.
Right.
There comes a point, just be like, you see that guy?
Give him the damn ball.
That guy.
I'd also, at some point, like him to start getting reffed like he's a freaking all-star, borderline superstar, because he is.
Yeah.
Tonight felt like a night that he could have taken 10, 15 free throws with ease, and I think he only shot a couple free throws. And Hardy ends up getting teed up in the second half, defending him because it felt just like one of those games.
That is a struggle. I don't know if that's us being Jazz biased, but it feels like they allow him to get popped around a little bit more, and he's kind of having to earn his way a little bit. I don't know. I don't have the answer on that one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Sometimes you get frustrated with
tonight
it.
was just a rough night overall for him, though. But that happens even with stars, right?
Absolutely. Kind of want to, I don't know. Here's my feelings, the feeling segment of the show. Are you ready?
No.
I'm going to express my feelings. Here's how I feel. I feel that we are searching so hard for points, for offense, and for the players that exhibit offense, sometimes out of nothing, sometimes on their own, sometimes within the realm of the team. I feel like we are searching for that so hard, we are stepping away from what's made us successful the last 20 games.
Yeah, no, 100%. We started to kind of turn things around this season, win some games because yes, there was at some points playing softer teams, but even against the better teams, we went on good runs and beat very good teams by being a defensive minded team.
Our defense led to our offense, right? I mean, we still scored what? How many scored tonight?
120 something.
Enough.
124.
How many did we give up?
153.
Good
I know that
Lord.
I know the answer to that one.
153 points. I would dare say.
Which felt like it could have been a lot more.
It felt like they let off the gas. I would dare say the strength of our team, which was discovered when a lot of the offensive players were injured and out, and we had to play these, oh no, we're down to our bare bones lineup. Ta-da, we're winning.
Right.
I would dare say, and we talked a little bit about this during the game and before the show, of we need to pair together certain guards. We cannot throw out there Clarkson and Sexton together. We shouldn't throw out Clarkson and Keontae George together. We should have we should have Chris Dunn and Ochai Agbaji's presence on the floor, pretty much at least one of them at all times.
Yeah.
On the guard side, playing the 1 and the 2.
Yes, playing the 2.
Notice I didn't say the number 3. I said 1 and 2.
Agbaji is a 2. We are playing him out of position. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Yeah, he's struggling a lot right now. Part of it's because he's getting low minutes and not really involved. Part of it also is because he's playing out of position.
Yeah. And even professional athletes, when they get their minutes toyed with, when their role changes, when kind of the earth from under him is shaking a little bit and moving, it really tears down confidence even of players who are good enough to get paid a full-time salary for their sport. That happens in all sports. So a player that can handle that and not be affected is called a star.
Yeah.
And makes hundreds of millions of dollars.
Right. And
so that's not that abnormal of a thing for Ochai's numbers to go down crashing as soon as his minutes got pulled again. The times last year and this year that he's had consistent minutes and consistent role, his numbers have been very high.
Yeah, and that's not saying he can't play the 3 at times. Mm-hmm. That's fine to kind of tinker with lineups, and at some points, he comes in at the 2 and then slides to the 3 to play with other guards and stuff like that. That's okay, but just strictly playing the 3 as a stand there and don't do anything on offense guy and then go play defense, it's hurting him. It's hurting his confidence. It's hurting his development. And tonight he was the only guy on the court, it felt like, who could slow down Brandon Ingram.
Yeah. Here's kind of the Ochai Agbaji trick, right? Watch him when he's guarding the other team, and most of the time it's their best player. A lot of times their shooting percentages don't go way down in the basement. They just don't shoot because he's so into them that they end up passing off to another option. That's kind of the effect that he has. Not only that, I really love the way that he and Fontecchio move and pass together when they're on the court together.
Yes, which is part of the reason why he needs to play the 2 also.
Here.
Yeah, and the only other guy on the team who really has that effect on the defensive side of the court is Chris Dunn. And Chris Dunn with another solid night, which we didn't even know if Chris Dunn was going to play tonight.
Yeah.
He was sick, he was questionable, and then ended up coming out and playing. You could see he wasn't feeling well. You could see that in his kind of a little bit of his body language. But he still came out and gave freaking push for it. And in the second half, we needed some fight and some life, and he was one of the only guys out there who really gave us that. And some toughness and surprising, I kind of mentioned this to you, shocker, the 2 players who really in the second half showed a little bit of backbone and toughness when we're down 25, 30 points was the 2 defensive-minded players. It's almost like that is a personality with defensive-minded players.
Yeah. That's something that, like we said, it seems to be unintentionally the real backbone of our team, if it's allowed to be, with the right combinations of players. You mentioned also kind of the dilemma of Collins or Kessler in that starting lineup. That's right. Kind of a real conversation that has to be addressed at some point.
Yeah,
because we both agree that John Collins brings some real strengths to our team
for sure
that are very nice. And like when we played the Lakers and he was able to pull Anthony Davis out the middle and hit those shots, there are times that he does some real puzzling things on defense. There are other times that he plays really good one-on-one defense.
Yeah.
The first half he was super athletic and making some plays and some dunks, and it would be nice for us to be able to use him a little bit more with a really good pick and roll guard. I wonder where we could find one of those.
I think we have 2 pretty good pick and roll point guards actually on this team.
Huh.
They just don't really, run the pick and roll a whole lot.
Why don't they? Yeah. So kind of some questions there, and you made the question, which is a very good point. Is Kessler our center of the future? Last year we were willing to make that claim. Everybody, every writer, coaching staff. Maybe not Danny Ainge at the end of the season though. You remember what he said in the postseason press conference when he was like, Kessler did some things really good, but he was surrounded by some really good players. Remember that part?
I don't. I do not remember that.
That was when they each got up there, he and Justin Zanuck. So what is his role going forward? What are we really willing to commit What's happened to his arc, his progress, his potential? What's the real talk there?
And that's the thing is, and this is one of those games that it was really kind of glaring of we almost like went on this little winning streak and forgot what this season was about. This season is not about trying to go and win as many games as we can and try and get the best possible seed we can. That stuff's great. That's not the role of this season. This season, because we're not going to go win a championship this season. You do that when you are legitimately trying to contend. We can't contend this year. We don't have the team for it. We don't even have the team to pretend to contend this year, because once we get into the playoffs, it makes sense. Once we get
I was
into the
amazed
playoffs,
with the tongue twister and the rhyming.
We get into the
Pretend to
playoffs, we will get ripped to shreds, and we know what a lot of our weaknesses are.
Yeah.
And because of that, stop playing some of the veterans heavy minutes. It's time. That's why it's time to move on from Olynyk and Clarkson in my eyes trade wise, because they're veterans that can go help championship contender teams. But also, if we want to be a championship contender team at some point in the next 3 to 5 years, we have to play our players who are going to be there when that happens. I like that we're playing Chris Dunn more minutes, because when Keontae's ready to kind of step into that role, whether that's this season or next or whatever, Chris Dunn's an incredible backup point guard to have on your team and lead your second unit. Dog
appearance.
He doesn't like when I get angry.
He's coming over to see what's up.
You got to calm down, man. He's my service dog.
That's true.
But he's a great backup point guard to have. And then with that, we need to play Keontae George. He finally got good minutes a little bit with Markkanen, Fontecchio, even Sexton a little bit. I prefer him not to play with Sexton, but if we're starting Sexton, right? And then I believe it was Collins down the stretch. I think Keontae essentially ran with the starting lineup down the stretch of the first half for like 4 minutes. He needs more minutes like that. He needs more minutes next to Markkanen, because he needs the development there. And he was really just skyrocketing development-wise before his injury when he was in the starting lineup and getting these really good minutes. Ever since he's come back from his injury and playing next to Jordan Clarkson, who horribly hurts spacing, he is not the same player. That there is no outcome this season that is possible for this team that makes sense to anywhere hurt Keontae's development for a veteran player on this team.
100%. You mentioned the Keontae argument, and you also have to make the Taylor Hendricks argument.
Yes, yeah. Taylor Hendricks is another one. That's part of the reason why I said it's time to. I got distracted. It's time to trade Olynyk, because even if Taylor Hendricks comes in and struggles and doesn't shoot great percentages and stuff like that, he's going to give us great defense. He showed that in the minutes that he got. But 2, he's gotten his time in the G League, and he's played well in the G League. It's time to bring him up into the NBA and start that process with him.
In my opinion, let him have the last half of the season of obstacles, of stubbing his toe, growth. That's the formula for growth. So that's our opinion on the direction of the team. And we said, even when we were in the middle of winning all those games, that we're burning hotter than what our actual place in the league is, right?
Yeah.
It's a fun run, fun to win all those games and do that. That's a blast. But realistically, we're probably down in the 9, 10, 11-ish range in the West. One team that won a lot of games last year actually went ahead and traded for a player today. That was in the East. Sorry, did I say West?
You just said team.
A team in the East. I keep. It's interesting the amount of Jazz players I talked to. So I had conversation with brother-in-law over the last weekend, and he talks about, we're winning. Why would we try and do anything? Well, the Miami Heat, they made it to the finals last year, and I think they're currently 6th.
Yeah.
In the East right now, and they're still making moves to try and improve.
which is dangerous for anyone in the East, no matter as long as they make the playoffs.
Yeah. Miami's like, we got you right where we want you.
Exactly.
So, even though there are teams that have won a lot and are still winning, the top teams are still trying to make moves to get better.
Yep.
And so they traded
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. I always want to say Mike Lowry.
Mike
They traded
Lowry.
Mike Lowry. So they traded Kyle Lowry for Rozier, right?
Yeah, Scary Terry.
Scary Terry, who's having a career year. He's putting up numbers like tops in his career. While LaMelo Ball has been out. So for Charlotte, good time to trade him, actually, because LaMelo's coming back and they want their young core. So Miami's still trying to make moves to get better, even though they're winning and have won very recently. So kind of in Jazz land, we have a lot of fans that are just cool with the mediocrity. So I just kind of wanted to make the point. There are many teams that are out there winning much more than we are, that are still making moves, still trying to get better, still trying to be able to push it over the top. And that's kind of some of what we expect our team to do before the trade deadline and once we get into the offseason this year.
Well, and that's why we got rid of Dennis Lindsey, brought in Danny Ainge, and promoted Justin Zanuck, because Ryan Smith, the owner, felt like these were the guys that were going to be willing to make those hard decisions.
They're tough.
To build a championship team, even if it means getting rid of certain players. Danny Ainge has done that already in his career. Justin Zanuck is willing to do that. And that's the whole, with you said that mediocrity and being okay with that was like kind of Dennis Lindsey's way, the Miller way, right?
It was the Miller way, for sure.
You don't make super risky moves, and you stay relevant enough to where you might get a home seed in the playoffs. You might win in the first round of the playoffs, but that's probably all you're going to get. But it gets fans excited, and it's a fun little ride and stuff like that, and it keeps you relevant and it keeps you somewhat in the conversation. But everyone knows you're not actually going to compete. And at the end of the day, I will freaking deal with the pain and crappy, seasons and stuff like that if it means building a championship team. I'm a lot of Broncos stuff in the background. Perfect example. I most of my life went through just absolute garbage of teams and stuff like that, and then we finally brought in the right players. Part of it helped getting Peyton Manning, but brought in the right players and were willing to make sacrifice, hard moves that are super risky to go win a Super Bowl, and had a couple Super Bowl runs. It's the same thing I want to see with the Jazz. I can deal with kind of the crap of developing young players that teams like the Thunder went through for years, that they had really fun moments, but they were bad teams, and most teams had them marked as a win. Like, this might be tough, but this is a team we can win. This is a team we can beat. But now they're starting to look like one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah.
And they're super young because of it. Our route is going to be a little different with Markkanen being our star and him being 26 now. But we also have super young players. If you get rid of Olynyk and Clarkson, we are super young. You have a couple veterans in Chris Dunn, Larry Markkanen, and John Collins. That's it. Everyone else is super young, which is why I'd be okay with the Quentin Grimes trade, strictly because it keeps us kind of younger and in the development range. I don't love the idea of getting rid of or bringing in Grimes, because once again, it hurts Agbaji in that role. But you make those moves and you're willing to make those sacrifices, and then you start developing these young kids. Sensabaugh, Hendricks, Agbaji, Keontae George, Kessler. These guys are all very, very, very young in their careers. And, Kessler or George and Hendricks are both 20. Super bright future. We have to be willing to commit to it.
Yeah. You have to be willing to, and it is a commitment, and you're accepting losing more games. That's exactly what it means, and you'd have to be fine with that, which we are.
It's not tanking, right? You're not trying to tank for a pick or anything like that. You're just understanding that it's not a super successful formula for winning in the short term.
Yeah, very few rookies affect winning. I myself, I'm a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. He can vouch for that, not just this year.
Totally, he's not.
We are apparently
He's
we're
he's not
in.
just a lifelong Detroit Lions fan. He's a Detroit fan. He grew up being a Bad Boys fan. He is a Detroit fan. I don't know how we convinced him to be a Jazz fan.
It all started with Billy Sims, and I thought that the Detroit Lions uniforms were the coolest looking things ever. I still do, but we were on a 72-year rebuild in Detroit, including an 0-6
Okay, I might
team.
not be willing to do that.
That could be mismanagement a little bit. That could be some mismanagement. But this year's our year. This year's the one. Anyways, I'll tell you a story. And I don't know if I ever told you this story. So when I was working for Real Salt Lake,
yeah,
we had a member of the upper management come into our department with a PowerPoint and show us the plan of they were going to try and hang around the 7th or the 8th spot in the West. Any players that they picked up that were of value, they were going to sell. They were going to hope to kind of hang around the bottom of the playoffs. And if they can, every once in a while, get lucky and make a run, win some penalty shootouts, kind of like they did when RSL won their title. And I about threw up and asked myself, how can fans be expected to buy season tickets with this? Not just this is what we probably should do. It was on PowerPoint, dude.
Right.
Next slide. Here's how bad we're going to suck. We still expect everybody to pay their tickets. Next slide. Anyways, I think that Ryan Smith, who oddly enough is now one of the owners of RSL, so that plan I would expect has changed there. But his strategy is the farthest thing from that.
Yeah.
And that's what you want in an owner. He says, I'm willing to pay extra salaries and even get into the tax if we have the right team and we're in the right direction. So the talent acquisition mode, which is what we're in, and trying to accumulate assets, is a part of getting in that right trajectory where he's willing to pay salary.
Yep.
So it's a great thing to have an owner with that type of an approach. It doesn't mean it'll work 100%, and not every rebuild is the same. It takes the same amount of years. Hence my Detroit Lions, note. And we're not wanting to do that. But there's a reason why just winning some games, it kind of puzzles me. That's why I brought that up. There seems to be a good chunk of Jazz fans that are just like, but we're winning. Why would we ever trade anybody? And that's kind of what I wanted to address.
It's very easy, especially as fans, that you're emotional about it and stuff like that, and that's what you're supposed to be. It's very easy to, when you start winning games, be like, everything's great, let's not change anything. It's super easy if you've never been in that kind of situation or seen how that stuff, with the RSL and stuff, seen how that kind of really breaks down. It's hard to be willing to look at that and not think short-sighted. It's super normal, and part of why some teams do that, because it's, as a fan, you're emotional and you want to win. So when the team's winning, it's like, why would we change?
Winning cures a lot of problems, right?
Yeah.
Kind of
old
covers up some mistakes. So, and there's another quote in NBA that NBA purgatory is like being good enough that you win some games, but not bad enough to get a good draft pick. That's like NBA hell.
Yep.
Is what they call it.
Which
that's been the Jazz way for a long time.
The Utah Jazz. We've had to get lucky with draft picks.
Right.
We got lucky with Donovan Mitchell and Gobert. Those were trades, but still, lottery and Gobert, the 27th pick. We got lucky with Gordon Hayward. The younger players that we brought in, most of them were because we kind of got lucky with them being a little bit later. Right now, we're hoping we struck gold and got lucky with Keontae George.
Yeah.
We suck when we draft top 5.
That's true.
We're really bad.
That's true.
I had high hopes for Dante. He had injury problems. But, we also drafted freaking Cantor, 3rd overall. Maybe we don't want to have a top 3, top 5.
That's true. That's true. And the thing that was amazing about Donovan Mitchell is that he impacted winning right away. Uh-huh. So rare for a rookie, especially, in the 13th pick, like you said. And he was kind of physical anomaly that was able to do some things right away that was quite amazing. So, but the Jazz way has been, pick 13 to 22 kind of is their normal pick, right? And that's typically referred to in front offices as NBA purgatory. So that's why. I'd be interested to see. I wanted to see him come out tonight and have some real fight from the start, and we didn't really fully get that. Hung
See,
with it
dog.
for a little bit. Bye, dog. But the last two games before, it seemed like we came out extra soft. So my hope is that we get back to kind of some of our defensive lineups and understand what got us started on some of those winning streaks,
Yes.
and kind of keep trying to evolve and allowing the young players to grow with playing time.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny is ever since Will Hardy made the comment of our offense and our, is starting to really push our defense and help our defense, or however he phrased it. Ever since we've done that, we've been really bad defensively. And so,
Yes.
we are being tested by teams right now physically.
Mhm.
We need to not just respond as players. This is players like Marketing when they're in that all-star range. How do you get to being a superstar? It's right now in his career by teams challenging you and how you respond. So I want to see him embrace that and challenge that, but I also want to see the team allow him to do that. But also, we need to get the right players that are willing to do that. I get it. Keontae's young. I get it. Taylor Hendricks is young. Taylor Hendricks defensively is going to be one of the best players on the court defensively the second he steps on the court. And Keontae George that dude's got no fear.
That's true.
That dude's got no fear. I would like to see him challenged. I liked the way he, CJ McCollum kind of shrugs at him and he kind of laughs it off and goes after him the very next play. I want to see him get challenged by the veterans in this league. I want to see how he reacts and grows from that. We need to allow him. We talked about the other game where it was a super physical game, so they didn't play Keontae in the second half, and it's like, well, this isn't the time to play a rookie. That depends. Are you trying to win every game or are you trying to develop? Because if you're trying to develop, I want the rookie out there because I want to see how he's going to respond. And I want to see him take that welcome to the NBA moment. What does he do with it? Because that's really where the development happens.
Absolutely. And it doesn't mean he has to play a huge amount of minutes or close the game. Give him a couple of spells.
Yeah.
You absolutely want to see. It's,
that's fine playing him 20 to 25 minutes, right? As long as you're playing him with the right rotations and the right minutes.
Let us see what young Squirt does. As it would say in one movie.
But yeah, I don't know. We play Thursday. I've been checking my phone every day to see if some trades happen. It's that time of the year, right? You start to see trades happen and rumors happen and fly around. So we'll see what happens over the next little while. We play Washington on Thursday. I want Markin to come out pissed. I want him to come out and respond. And he usually does a really good job at responding after games like this. I'm excited for Thursday. I'm excited for how he responds, but got some concerns with where we're going right now, lineup-wise.
Yep, and the ups and downs of the season are real, but I think that our lineup selection is affecting that more than maybe others believe or want to admit.
Yeah.
We're on the same page on that.
Let us know what you guys think with the team. Maybe there's some young players you guys would like to see us trade for if we do make some moves, or kind of who you've targeted or watched this season. I'm curious to kind of see what you guys think with that. But either way, we will see you guys Thursday and hope for a funner conversation, funner game.
More funner, more gooder.
Yes. Thanks, guys.